Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Welcome to our panel discussion on lessons that we can learn from our neighboring country. And today's discussion is solely focused on Turkey's investment scene. My name is Sabo Bakhtiar, and I am Takween Accelerator's program manager. Today we have the privilege of hosting 4 distinguished panelists who bring a wealth of expertise and experience in entrepreneurship, in marketing, in socioeconomic development. But before I dive into introducing them, I would like to sort of share a couple of housekeeping points with you. This session will last for an hour. We have 45-minute discussion of questions and answers from the panel and the panelists themselves. Then we will have an open window of 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. But that does not mean that you cannot ask questions. Feel free to write any questions that you have, either in the chat box that you can see below, or you can put it down in the Q&A box. We are recording this session, and we are also live streaming it on Facebook. So for those of you who are joining from Facebook, welcome. We do not want to take the chance away from you, and you can still ask any question that you have in the comment section, and we will ask the questions to the panelists from our side. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists. First, we have Mr. Rashid Hamwi, an executive manager at Nexo Agents. Mr. Rashid is known for his extensive experience in digital marketing and entrepreneurship. He is not only a dynamic speaker, he's a mentor, he's a consultant, but he also worked on numerous entrepreneurship-related programs, supporting countless entrepreneurs achieving their own goals. Of course, his expertise in shaping strategies for business, including those focused on refugee entrepreneurship, will provide an invaluable and valuable insight for our discussion. Next, we have Ithar Walid, who is a remarkable Iraqi/Turkish entrepreneur and marketer in the tech industry. Ithar, as the CEO and the co-founder of Audit Eye and the Audit Eye company and the TAA consultancy, has successfully managed regional and international projects. She has built a vast professional network and expertise across cultures. Her background in digital marketing, the Web 3.0 transformation, localizing digital trends, has contributed significantly to the growth of successful businesses. So we look very much forward to her insights on investments and entrepreneurship in Turkey as well. Our third panelist is Mr. Mustafa Sagezli, and I'm so sorry, you can correct me on pronouncing the last name. Mr. Mustafa is a visionary leader, a social entrepreneur. He has dedicated his efforts to building the Libyan program for reintegration and development, which is a national institution focusing on fostering socioeconomic development. His experience in stabilizing conflict-affected countries and promoting entrepreneurship through education and development of projects will provide valuable perspective for Iraq's investment landscape. Last but not least, we have Ms. Reem Sroor, the COO of Podlife, which is a startup that works with content creators. And Reem has been instrumental in supporting the growth of content incubators and startups in the Gulf countries, but also in Turkey. Her expertise in working with creative entrepreneurs and her insights into incubation program will shed some light on innovative approach that Iraq can also adopt to attract investment, but also nurture our local talent. So please join me in giving like a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists. We are very grateful that you are here with us to share your expertise and provide insight on startup investment and entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for joining us. So to dive deep into our discussion, I would like to direct my first question to you, actually, Mr. Rashid. You have extensive experience in digital marketing and entrepreneurship, including supporting refugee entrepreneurship. How can Iraq leverage digital marketing strategies to attract more investment, but also promote its startup ecosystem?
Thank you so much for this question, and I'm very glad to be answering a question that will maybe answer a question about the development of the startup ecosystem in Iraq through this panel. Actually, if we dig deep into the Iraqi ecosystem of startup, we see a good knowledge and good advancements in the awareness of startups and in the awareness of providing startup ideas as solutions for some of the problems that the community is facing and the economy is facing. But on the other hand, we still have a lot to do as an Iraqi ecosystem to build the image of Iraq community. Iraq has suffered a lot through the last 30 years, and the news of Iraq was on the first news for the last 3 decades, as I mentioned. But now, in the last 5 years, when the news of startups in Iraq has shown, there was no efforts to bring it back to the first news, as the other news that we were hearing about Iraq was in the first news. So I think one important issue is to give back the spark of the news of Iraqi startups and what is going on among those startups. What are the challenges that they are facing? How much employment they are doing, and how good is their impact, or what are their needs? So we need to bring those ideas back to the news. For some reasons, there is lack of awareness among other countries about the startup movement and how it goes in Iraq. While Iraq has the economy, has the advantage point in its economy, in its population, in its diversity of resources. So I'm sure that the startups that will be running in Iraq will be having a very good chance and a very big opportunity to grow and to make much more attractive for investments. In advance to that, in addition to that, the experience around Iraq is rich, so it could enrich the experience of the startups in Iraq. So what I would suggest, or how would I answer, is that we need more content about Iraq itself, about Iraqi cities. Unfortunately, until now, if we search on Google, and that's digital marketing aspects of the point, if we search on Google about the Iraqi cities, we will see images back from the war times or from some challenges that those cities were facing. But we need more content to reflect how the people are living, how the community is responding to the challenges that the youth are facing and that the community is facing. So when we see more content, videos, images, blogs, news, and we see more focus on the startups that have launched their experience in Iraq, I think we can attract more investors, both from the Iraqi businesses and from other businesses, to join the movement of startups in Iraq.
Thank you so much. And I think that is something that Turkey has done well, is that we see a lot of news about startups in Turkey, including, like, I don't think there is anyone that does not know about Trendyol and their success. There's the Dream Games. There are the Peak, I think, Gitter, if I'm not wrong. So I think one thing that's been Turkey has been doing well is promoting these startups internationally, but also locally. Thank you so much for your input. Coming to you, Ithar, as a successful entrepreneur and marketer, you have built a strong network and expertise across cultures. What do you think are some of the key elements to have contributed to Turkey's success in attracting international investment, and how you think, or what would be your advice on how Iraq can replicate these strategies?
So thank you very much, Savo, for this introduction and the question, and the very important question. Actually, what comes to my mind when I decided to move to Turkey and and start my own business, few things that made me personally take the decision is I noticed that in the recent years, for certain reasons, Turkey become an international hub for people. People from different cultures, diversified backgrounds, people from the GCC, from MENA, from Europe. And Turkey has sparked, Turkey's name was sparking in many publications. Also the news of reaching a unicorn status for some of Turkey's startups made it to the international news. So it was I think this is a good place to go to, or I think it's a good place to start in. Plus, and people reach out to Turkey for certain reasons. For example, one of them is a high education rate or high qualified employees rate. When it comes to tech startups. Just a second, I need to close something. I think there's something interrupting.
No.
When it comes to qualified employees, and highly technical employees, because we are speaking about startups, and startups today really rely on high technicality and technical skills. So this was one of the reasons that made us take the decision. When you look at the hotspots for tech employees or tech talents, and talents are one of the most important aspects of any startup or the success of any startup. So you will find that people speak about India and Pakistan, for example, as a tech hub or tech talent hub, and Eastern Europe, which includes Poland, Ukraine, and Turkiye. So this was one more reason that made us take the decision. And honestly speaking, with good network and good strategies, you can find awesome tech employees here. Thirdly, and I think this is something that people do not notice until they compare to other countries, is that opening a business is very easy in this country. You don't have many restrictions. It still can be better. It can be more digital, but still compared to many other countries, you don't have a lot of bureaucracy, especially when you are in certain general areas, not something that is so deep or so extraordinary. And plus, beside all this, if you have a good idea, or if you have a good project, and a project that can prove itself to help the Turkish market or the international market, you can apply for a certain special what do they call it, license, that really gives you some incentives that makes your life easier. It's called the Technopark license. It's not easy to get in, but once you get in, this is one of the things that we are seeking at the moment. Once you get in, you get many perks that everyone dreams of, for example, tax-free purchases for anything technical. They omit most of the tax that you pay for the government for each employee. They can help you with also some grants, and they can help you with some training for your employees. So technoparks are now, I think there is more than 80 technoparks or more. I can't remember the number. across Turkey, I think more, maybe more than 100. So like these institutions really helped Turkey to become high in tech and helped the youth, helped the entrepreneurs to like invest in their own countries, Turkish entrepreneurs and international entrepreneurs. Many Turkish startups are gathered in these technoparks, and I've seen that many investors come from abroad to like meet with these Turkish startups in these centralized locations. So this makes the work better marketed, the startup scene better marketed in Turkey, and literally tells the people that we are high tech. We have talented employees and talented workforce. And after like they grew and become international news for some startups like Peak Games, Trendyol, Yemeksepeti, as you said, Hepsiburada, etc. They invested hard on like making it a news everywhere in many languages and so on, and that attracted more people and more people. But also, like I will not forget to mention that the diversity that happened to Turkey in the last 12 years or 13 years helped people know more about Turkey, see Turkey more on social media, see Turkey as or Istanbul or Antalya or Ankara or Izmir as a headquarter for some companies, and that's a lot. All of it is a good marketing for Turkey.
Thank you so much. I think you provided such a detailed answer and kind of leads the way for my next question to Mr. Mustafa. I feel, since with your experience in stabilizing conflict-affected countries, beside the initiative that Ithar just mentioned, what do you think are some of specific initiatives that Iraq can undertake to create a helpful environment for investment and entrepreneurship in the midst of ongoing challenges that we have here?
Thank you, Savo. And I would like just to start with the importance of SMEs entrepreneurship for countries like Iraq. Entrepreneurship and SMEs development, providing youth with decent life, with hope, with employment, is very important in state building. It's very important in rebuilding states, giving hope to the youth and to their communities. And it has also a role in stabilizing these countries. For example, most of the so-called DDR programs, moving youth from militias or armed groups to civil life, depend on small business and entrepreneurship. This way you can attract youth. You can also make sure youth would not be mobilized by armed groups, other violent extremist groups, and so on. So SMEs and entrepreneurship is very important for building peace, building institutions, stabilizing countries. For example, you are an oil-producing country. I'm sure you have the same disease as we have in Libya and other countries, where most of graduates, the first thing they look for is to find a job in the government. So you find our countries, most of our budgets would go for employment that is fake employment in the end. You know, people are getting salary and doing nothing constructive for the country and the economy. So to solve this issue, you need to employ people in the private sector. And the only way to expand the private sector is through SMEs development, startups, small business. Coming to this, I think is very important from my experience in Libya, Somalia, Mauritania, Turkey here also. We have been an incubator and accelerator for the last few years for Syrian refugees. And now we started also with Turkish startups and entrepreneurs trying to expand their projects into our region. Turkish also have an issue with bridging with other countries. So we have our acceleration program for Turkish startups to enter into the region. So what I can say, the first thing that, through it we can support SMEs and startups is building the ecosystem. And the first step would be to study the economy, study the opportunities, the competitive advantages of the country in general, and also of different regions, different geographies, and different communities. According to this study, we can recommend new policies, new legislations, regulations. Ithar just mentioned technoparks. We are located in a technopark in Istanbul, Yildiz University Technopark. In this technopark, there are huge incentives for startups and SMEs. And by the way, Ithar, if you are interested in entering a technopark, we can help you, because at our incubator, we can host up to 10 startups. So you are welcome to apply through our incubator. But again, the ecosystem, legislations, incubators, technoparks, industrial zones, plus access to finance. Access to finance is very important. We can do all the training, capacity building, coaching, mentoring, and so on. But once the small business needs finance, they would go in our countries. I don't know about Iraq specifically, but I would imagine most of the wealth or most of the money is into banks. And banks usually are not willing to invest or lend small businesses. So we need to work on having funds, having angel investors. Plus, we have a program now we are working on trying to change the mentality of bankers. We call it SMEs Expert for Bankers. So it's a training program for Libya and other countries. We are trying to change the mindset of banks and bankers so they would accept investing into SMEs and small businesses. So supporting the ecosystem, finding where the gaps are, and bridging these gaps would be the first step for Iraq to expand the small business sector and also entrepreneurship and startups.
Thank you so much. I love how the spirit of different stakeholders in any entrepreneurial ecosystem is still the same. I love your invitation to Ithar, and Ithar, I think you should take advantage of this invitation. Reem, we just mentioned acceleration program, incubation program, and their, I think, role in supporting startup and the ecosystem. Through your work with content creators and some incubation programs, you have supported startups in the Gulf countries and also in Turkey. What do you think are some of the key factors that contribute to the success of any startup incubation programs? And how can Iraq establish similar initiatives to foster entrepreneurship, but also attract investors?
Thank you. Thank you for all my colleagues, and thank you for you, Savo. I think, yeah, the problem with the programs, it starts like a trend. So when once an incubation or an incubator started, everybody is thinking about it like a good trend, and everybody is wanting to replicate those programs. The problem with incubation programs, or the problem incubation programs should work on, is like the difference between incubation and training. In training, you just have these people, give them the training and let them go. And you don't know exactly what did they do, or did they benefit from the training or not. And actually studies say it's like from 1% to 4% of people are benefiting practically from the training. But the incubation programs and the advantage of it is in the experts are in the incubators. This is very important part. The mentors we have in the incubators, and the tools we provide people. So the program is extended. The program is not only training, it's thinking about how can we make them sustainable? How can we help them continue? What after incubation? Okay, after incubation, we got an MVP, and everybody is really fell in love with their program, with their product. But what after that? Can we go to investors? Can we have a relationship with investors? This is very important. And the other thing is, I think for programs is innovation innovation programs. Because after 1 or 2 or 3 cohort, I think Mr. Mustafa will agree with me, after a few cohorts, a few years with incubation programs, you will find like there is no new ideas coming. There is no new solutions. Everybody is trying to get the latest successful idea and work on it. So the problem here is, do they really working on real solutions for real problems? This is, in my opinion, this is the definition of a startup. Somebody is getting a real solution for a real problem. So innovation programs, design thinking programs, business design programs, those are very important. So we can provide incubators with new and continuous innovations and new ideas always coming up for their programs. So in a nutshell, I would say follow up with incubatees. This is very important. And innovation programs and design thinking programs, so we can put real life problems and find solutions for them.
Thank you so much. I think that's very accurate and also interesting at the same time. Mr. Rashid, I think right now, Mr. Mustafa and also Ms. Reem mentioned the importance of having an expert in this program, having mentors, basically. Based on your experience working with like various organizations, how important the role of mentorship and this program in nurturing like a thriving startup ecosystem? And what steps Iraq can take to develop an effective, let's say, mentorship programs or incubation programs, and how these programs are tied in with the investment opportunities?
Actually, the startup, when it's launched via an entrepreneur, it's their role is to solve a problem that they only see the problem. They don't have a clear idea about the type of solution and the way this solution is going to be presented. So there must be some points of uncertainty. There must be some points of risks that still not answered, and the challenges that still not clearly addressed how to be solved. Having this point, the startup will definitely need several mentors, several experts to come over those challenges. Unfortunately, there is no guide to help those startup founders finding solutions for the challenges that they are facing. They need to dig into different ideas from different consultants. Why I say there is no guide? Because the solutions that are provided are either tested at a different community or at a different economy or at a different budgets. Every startup has their own challenges, and they cannot copy other startup solutions to their problems. Therefore, the need of mentors and experts is extremely high. What should be done in a given community or in a given ecosystem is that support programs or mentoring programs is very useful and very helpful. Programs that help mentors to know how to give mentoring, to help experts how to be mentors for startups. Not every expert in a given field is able to provide mentorship to the startups. And here I would like to thank Bina Incubator for working a lot on providing programs for mentors, for those who would like to be mentors, for the experts in their fields. Bina has given this experience a great achievements in the Turkish ecosystem of startups, and of course they are not alone in this experience, but they have done a lot, and now we can see so many mentors that have previously studied at their program of mentorship. And that is affecting the startups by having a wide range of experts, a wide range of mentors who can help them face the challenges that they are having.
Thank you so much. And I think you mentioned an important point of providing programs for mentors, and this is something that as Takween we have started doing as well. We launched our pilot program for training mentors, and I think some of them might be in the attendees. So it's a very important point that you have mentioned. Thank you. Ithar, you have been involved in the Web 3.0 transformation and localizing digital trends. How can Iraq capitalize on emerging technologies and trends to position itself as an attractive destination for investment, but in tech industry? You are muted.
So basically, this is a tough question because, like, in answering this question means I'm gonna be very honest as an Iraqi citizen and speak about the many obstacles that us, like nationals of Iraq, as entrepreneurs, facing in opening a company in Iraq, and let alone foreigners. So basically, for foreigners, one of the main reasons or obstacles they will not choose Iraq for is like Iraq is a country, surprisingly, that has a that's very restricted when it comes to visas, and they don't have like very special visas for, like, for example, startup entrepreneurs, investors. Even investors find it hard there to have like ownership on projects and so on. Also, like, despite being a tax-free country, they don't have like income tax or something. We don't have in Iraq, I mean, but like there's no clear path for any startup on what law they'll be like working on. So like there should be some more clarity if we're speaking about marketing the country for investors or entrepreneurs. We need to like market it with clarity, with some special treatment or special visas, I believe. Most importantly, because you mentioned tech, I have to say that we need to be very techy to attract techies. We need to have like paperless governmental initiations or like initiatives where you can do everything online or most of the things online, where you can adopt new technologies in like opening a business, verifying what do you call it, individuals, easing up the way of like opening virtual companies and so on. Also, I would say it's going to be very beneficial if we're speaking about tech to be like as a company that is rich with like talents, with also money. It's going to be, and it's really thirsty like to get more attraction and more innovations in the country. The country is very youthful, most of one of the most young, or the youngest countries in the region. So like I would believe we'll be like early adopters if we bring the technologies to the country, if we tell the youth about these technologies. So for example, I'd like to see a blockchain summit in Erbil or Baghdad soon. I'd be very happy to join that summit. I'd like to see a digital summit and let it be free for everyone by like, for example, registration. Let people know about these new technologies. Let people know that when they are studying computer science or, for example, artificial intelligence, that they have a future in their own country, not only outside the country. Also, like the country is going through this. This is something we know from our clients. We're working with some clients on digital transformation. So like the country is going through a digital transformation phase. So why not expedite that instead of like going paperless to like Web 1 or Web 2? Like let's expedite that and do it like from a paper government, or like government that relies on like traditional ways, to Web3 directly. Why do you want to do what people did like 20 years ago? And we have the potential, we have the capacity to do that. And it starts with like, unfortunately, with a political decision or a legislation, legislation that ease up the whole ecosystem to make this happen. That's it.
Thank you. I loved your transparent answer. This is the whole point of this discussion. And you mentioned some of the policies that we have that act as an obstacle for startup and also investors. Mr. Mustafa, what specific policies and reforms should Iraq consider to create an enabling environment for startup and investment, adding to what Ithar just mentioned?
I think, first of all, there should be tax exemptions. And I know most countries have these tax exemptions. And when we talk about the entrepreneurship, we should not limit it to startups. We should also talk about small growing businesses. So you don't have to be completely innovative or in technology. You can have a small business that is able to grow a replication, franchise, whatever. We should also encourage youth through our incubators and our initiatives. Encourage youth so we can provide them with employment, hope, and they can expand. So I would think policies like tax exemptions are very important. Ease in registering their companies. Some countries have special registrations for small business and startups with no fees, and some countries they even give incentives for them. Plus, ease in finding a place to establish your project in. So, for example, we are at a techno park here in Turkey. There are 150 companies. Many of them are supported, so they don't pay rent, or they pay rent with a lower price. So providing areas, co-working spaces, also places, industrial zones. Sometimes they call them SMEs, oases, or whatever, for example, in some countries. So this is also very important. Plus, again, going back to access to finance, it is very important to encourage financial institutions to finance small business, startups, entrepreneurs. So the government should also have like credit guarantee schemes. So encourage banks to invest in startups and small business. For example, there is a new decree in Libya that banks have to invest 10% of their investments in SMEs and startups. But again, the central bank would give them credit guarantee. So they will not be in great risk or great danger. So these legislations are very important. These policies are very important. And by the way, they would, whatever you spend on the ecosystem or in supporting SMEs, if it is well planned, you will save maybe 10 times in the governmental budgets, because governments would spend more money because of issues and problems of unemployment, spread of arms, criminality, and so on. So these are basic policies. But of course, I think it's very important. I encourage Takween and other institutions in Iraq. We can also support them in this, because we did the same study in Somalia and in Libya. To have a study, it could take even 2-3 months. It doesn't have to be a long study on the ecosystem and the gaps in the ecosystem, including legislations, regulations, and policies.
Thank you so much. As Takween, we always welcome any collaboration, and anything that you can provide us, we'll be more than happy to listen and see how we can use the information that you gathered here in Iraq. So thank you for your suggestion. Mr. Rashid, since we are talking about policies and reforms, if you can, in a brief, can tell us how can Iraq learn from Turkey's inclusive policies and initiatives that have successfully they have integrated refugees into their entrepreneurial ecosystem? Because Iraq has, with the law we have, refugees can work outside their camps. So the law is supportive, but like, what kind of other policies that we can implement here in Iraq, in your opinion?
I think, first of all, the encouragement of refugees to work as entrepreneurs, both in SMEs or in the innovative startups, is a very good solution for the refugee problem, because first, the refugee at some point are out of their comfort zone. So you can expect a good results and a good achievement from them. They are out of comfort zone. That means a lot of work, a lot of energy, so much passion about whatever they are doing. On the other hand, the entrepreneurship would be a good step into more encouragement for the integration between the hosting communities and the refugee community. Always, there is no integration without a reason or a goal. And what could be better than the goal of economic development and economic growth? That's always a good reason to integrate. If this refugees started their business, then they need to deal with clients and to deal with other stakeholders in their ecosystem. And this dealing is a step into more integration, into more understanding, into more achievement together. So that's part of the development that should be provided for the refugees in their new countries. Turkey has worked a lot, and especially with the help of European Union, to provide the refugees with the programs that not only help them in their learning process, but also in their entrepreneurship journey, in order to give them more economic independence and in order to give them more integration into society. This program was focusing on providing those refugees with the knowledge, with the awareness of the ecosystem that is in Turkey, the economic aspects of Turkish society, and on how to start their own business, how to transfer their experience back from their countries, and much more important, how to integrate all of this knowledge into the new society that they are working on. Iraq can do the same with both the help of development agencies and local agencies, local supportive agencies from inside Iraq or from the development agencies from other countries. We always wish fast steps for the refugees, but unfortunately, what's going on is that issues taking much more time than what we expect. So giving them programs that not only support their humanitarian needs, but also develop their needs and focus on peace building for their society would be so helpful in this issue.
Thank you so much. And I think these things all start with like small steps, even if it's take a long time. We can at least start with a small step and we can take it further later on. Coming back to you, Reem, in Iraq, we have seen, I think, a trend of content creating businesses, podcasts, and so on. With your expertise in working with content creators, what are some of innovative approach that can be taken to promote and market Iraqi startup to attract both local and also international investors?
The big importance of content creation is we used to call it like, if you are going to enter the digital world, you need the coin for this world, and the coin for the digital world is content. You will talk about yourself, about your product, you will engage with people, you will do anything through content. The problem is, I think, still the content creation is not very supported by institutions and maybe by media companies. It's like what we found from our studies to the international content creation landscape. It is really complicated landscape, and there are a lot of efforts to support content creators so they can make more PR about the areas they are, the industries they are working in, the countries they are working from. So it is like if we don't support content creators to make more content about the country or about the incubation or the startup landscape in this country, nobody will hear about it. And I think one of the most innovative ways is to apply something like incubation programs for startups, also for content creators. So it's not about only training content creators and send them. We need to adapt them. We need to have content creators supported and should be really part of any initiative and part of any program, so they can promote any effort and any initiative and talk about it. In this way, any program will really make it sound and to raise the sound to outside. So it is sad we didn't hear about Iraqi ecosystem till now, because nobody is really talking about it that much. And as much as you try in a formal way, it wouldn't make that influence as if it is normal people talking about it, like we are benefiting from this ecosystem and we are working on it and these are our achievements. So I think this is one of the most important parts, is to support programs for content creators and support content creators to produce their content after training them. And we see this a lot in Emirates, for example. There are a lot of content creators that are supported from the government. And that makes a lot of content actually and a lot of PR for this country. Also, one of the important thing is now with the new technologies, with AI, with disruptive technologies, a lot of people try to start with a startup and they find themselves like, you know, either they fall in love with their idea and they can't catch up with the technology, or comes something like AI and tells you it will eliminate content creators, or it will eliminate like some of the employees. But actually, I think the smart use of AI and the smart use of new technologies will be very beneficial for content creators who know exactly what are they talking about. They know exactly how it is an industry, and they can apply AI to this industry and come up with more human, more creative content and ways to communicate with people. It's all about communication. We have a message we needed to get through. So I think Ithar will agree with me on this. AI can help creative people to be more creative, but yes, it will eliminate mediocre and medium levels of folks.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mustafa, earlier you mentioned collaboration and partnership. What do you think, like what role can international collaboration and partnership play in supporting Iraq's startup ecosystem and attracting investment?
I think international expertise, international know-how, and also management practices and good governance, I think are things needed in our countries, including Iraq. So these organizations, usually the well-known ones, they dealing with them, you learn from partnering with these international organizations, good governance, project management, transparency, and also in implementation, you have to have your KPIs and have your concrete impact on the ground. So such partnerships help in building the capacity of our youth, of our organizations, especially when it comes to the SMEs ecosystem. We need knowledge transfer, we need know-how, transferring the expertise, for example, of Turkey in technoparks to Iraq. I think this is a good idea. Now, many of the technoparks in Turkey, including Yildiz Technopark that we are in, they have an office for knowledge transfers. They call it TTO, I think, where they have agreements, for example, with countries, Uzbekistan, countries in Africa. We are trying to have an agreement with them for Somalia and Libya to transfer the model of technoparks in Turkey. Also, when it comes to incubators, accelerators, for example, we as BINA, we benefited from our partners, international NGOs like Spark, like Islamic Development Bank, Qatar Fund for Development, and others who have supported our programs. We benefited through their networks. We also accredit, for example, as my friend Rashid, who is also part of our community and a mentor with BINA. So accrediting also mentors, coaches internationally. This brings international expertise, curriculums, software, platforms, new tech. All these can be adapted from international best practices. I know in our country sometimes we have a barrier when dealing with international organizations, and even some people spread the conspiracy that international organizations are coming to our countries for different goals than they claim. But it depends on us. When we partner with these organizations, according to our goals, we are on the ground, we have the control, we are implementers, so we can receive the benefit we need. And if there are other issues that are not for the good of our communities, of course, we can reject them. So I am fully supporting the idea of cooperating with international organizations for the benefit of our communities.
Thank you so much. I think you shared an important point, is that we collaborate based on our own goals. And of course, if there's any collaboration that we think will harm us in any ways, we definitely will not take it. Ithar, I'm gonna direct my last question to you. You are the host of the 3.0 podcast, and you discussed the technology trends. And I think in the first question that I asked you, you sort of mentioned how Iraq can leverage blockchain, like decentralized finances. But if you can elaborate a little bit more on like what are the other emerging technologies we can enhance here in Iraq, or we can approach to attract investment. You are muted. This is the beauty of Zoom, I guess.
Okay, so basically, I'm like, as a host of this podcast, as a CEO of a company who does deep tech solutions, I'll be leaning on the fact that we really need to expedite the digital transformation to an extent where we we have an opportunity to expedite it and adopt new technologies instead of going through the usual path of doing an app, doing a centralized, an app for each, for example, cabinet or each ministry, doing an app for each university. As a person who believes in the new tech and who knows that blockchain, for example, is not only cryptocurrency, is not only NFTs, and this is what we try to like tell people through our podcast. It's also like decentralized solutions. It's also private blockchain that helps all institutions have a private decentralized database, and this technology can help literally reduce a lot of money, millions of dollars, and a lot of also human resources cost to like achieve high results in tech. So my advice here will be, let's train governmental officials, let's train semi-governmental officials on these new technologies. Let us like change the idea about AI, that AI is only stealing our jobs, blockchain is only cryptocurrency. Actually, we opened this whole podcast. We started, the whole idea came from our struggles in explaining to our clients that it's not what you believe it, but what you believe or see in the internet, on the internet, it's much more than that. It has other applications. You just know the surface of it. So we were like, if we are facing all these things, all these problems, and we have the network, the connection, and so on, so maybe youth or like new fresh grads are facing more problems. So we took the initiative and the lead, and we started this podcast completely funded by our marketing department in the company. So and we are trying to like bridge this knowledge gap. Mr. Mustafa just spoke about the importance of transferring knowledge, and we're trying to do this for the youth and maybe also decision makers who listen to our podcast. And we believe that maybe we're small today, but one day will be more influential. As Reem said, the importance, she noted the importance of content creation. It's not only the podcast. I really highly advise incubation centers like yours, like Bina, to be like the bridge where people, mentors, specialists deliver this knowledge to the youth, to the decision makers, and to the community in general. I believe, again, as a very young country, Iraq, as a youthful country with a lot of resources, we should be pioneers. And I'm not like exaggerating here. Technology has empowered so many countries, has empowered countries in Central Africa, like Uganda, has empowered countries in Central America, has empowered many countries to like be one of the best economies around the world. And we have this opportunity, and we can do it. It just needs a plan. It needs to be like planned. It needs to be legislated. It needs to be a real serious transformation, not only something that you tell people just to like tell them that we did the transformation. We will be always like happy to help in this transformation, happy to provide our knowledge, just for the sake of like building a high-tech community and contributing to this community. As we say in Arabic or in English, to one hand cannot clap. So that's the reason why we think of sharing this knowledge and the importance of sharing all this with everyone, because like me walking alone will not make any difference for anyone and not make me any benefit. But like if we're all gathered and like sat together and exchange ideas like what we're doing today in this panel, we'll be able to reach to like wonderful solutions. I really learned a lot from this panel today, from Mr. Mustafa, Mr. Rashid, and Reem, and from you, Savo. So this is maybe one of the first things that we should do. I'll add to that training, incentives for like people who opt to work in deep tech, like for example the Technopark example, because it's very high cost, by the way, to work in deep tech. It's something that requires a lot of incentives for your employees and a lot of training. So if you give the incentive from the government, it will make their life easier, and they will like opt for opening businesses, entrepreneurs in this area. And lastly, and most importantly, I would say recognition. For example, one of the things that we face in the region, I will not specify a country, is like, for example, recognizing women in tech. I want to bring up this. I know it was our last question and we don't have time for it, but like, I want to bring up this. We need recognition for any person with a specialty, any person with a special training. And we need to like tell the people that, bring these role models to the front and tell people you have like women role models, you have also young role models, male or women, you have smart developers, smart software engineers, both genders, and recognize them, tell the people about them. It's very important, very essential, even if it's not something that will provide them direct monetary fund or direct monetary benefit, but this recognition is very important for many youth, for many young people, and for many great minds that's thinking of adopting new technologies. And thank you for your time, Savon, for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for including the answer for my last question and your answer as well. And I think we take responsibility in bringing awareness on these topics. And that's one of the main reasons why we have decided to start this series. This series actually started with covering Egypt. Today was Turkey. We're going to cover Jordan soon. We want to learn, we want to kind of decrease the gap of knowledge and make sure that we have actions, takeaway actions from these discussions and share it with like the decision makers of our ecosystem. So thank you all so much. I'm going to open it up for questions. Yes, Reem, sorry.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I got excited about all the collaboration here. So we are very happy to collaborate with any incubator, accelerator, or any place who has programs, so we can have content creators program alongside their business incubation programs. So we are ready to have a program with you or with any other, I don't know, entity around, so we can make people more influential and to get their voice heard, as Istar said. So that's it.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. And definitely,
Reem, please.
Yes.
Reem, if you are located in Istanbul, we'd be happy to receive you.
Yeah,
I think we have a lot to share in podcasting and also in the ideas you mentioned. And we are
visiting
more happy.
you. We are visiting you next week.
MashaAllah, you are welcome.
Thank you.
And we're always happy to host you here in Kurdistan and Iraq as well. So I'm going to open it up for questions. We actually received 3. The first question is, they say, hi, I live in Australia. Can I register a company in Turkey that provides services online worldwide? Any of you have information regarding registering a company, but they live in Australia? Mr. Rashid?
Yeah, that's possible according to the Turkish law, but actually Turkey is not the first country that comes to mind when addressing this situation. There are other countries like Estonia or Poland that can provide other services to companies who are would like to serve online. But anyway, according to the Turkish law, there is a case like that, and it can be handled in Turkish.
Thank you so much. The second question says, the main problem with Iraq economy is the absolute randomness. It is based on day-to-day activities with no plans whatsoever for the future. The question is, if the education system in Iraq is not helping to create the needed mindset, how can we fix the issue away from the education system? Maybe Mr. Mustafa, you can answer that. You are muted.
This is a very good question. Of course, the education system is very important, and it is part of the ecosystem. So vocational training is very important, technical training is very important. And I know, for example, in many countries, they have entered the entrepreneurship curriculum in universities, and some countries even starting from elementary school. So we have to add to our education institutions, entrepreneurship curriculums, build the mindset of youth, especially during their study at the universities, that instead of just depending on being employed in the government or in the public sector, they need to think of starting their own business. And universities, most of universities in the world now have incubators. So incubators can help them develop their ideas, have their business plans to enter into the private sector and entrepreneurship. I think this is a very good question. It should be forwarded to our decision makers in our countries, in Iraq and elsewhere.
Thank you so much. There's another question regarding, it's similar to the question that was asked right now. So you covered that as well. We had a question from Mr. Musa, which is, he's from STER NGO, but he was asking for help to translate his question from Arabic to English. But Mr. Musa, I don't see your question. If you can write it down in the chat box, that would be great if you are still with us. If not, we have posted this on LinkedIn, and it has all of our amazing panelists linked in. You can, I'm pretty sure they're open to answer questions on LinkedIn if you have any specific question. Since I can't see Mr. Musa's question and we are running out of time, I would like to thank you all so much for this amazing and engaging discussions. We have so much that we can learn from. I personally learned a lot, and I cannot wait to reach out to each one of you to work on a future collaboration maybe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you very much for the meeting.
Take care. Bye-bye.